When it comes to hiding pages on our website, this can take one of a few different forms. The two we'll focus on in this video are, first of all, just hiding a page from things like menus and lists and so on, but otherwise the page is still accessible at the address it exists on. And the other form we'll show off is how to restrict a page to be only accessible to people who are logged into some sort of user account on the back end. So this is going to be useful in scenarios where you have some sort of partial restricted area on your site where you'll want to lock down one or more pages just for a handful of predetermined users. So with this first option of just hiding the page from menus and so on, let's look at this about page I have on my site here on screen now. And beneath that, I've got various subpages. And the first one here is Trust Overview. And let's say this is the page I want to hide from lists such as this, as well as hide it from the menus and so on like this. So to do that, we'll go into the page we want to hide. And we'll then go into the Settings button in the CMS toolbar. Then from there, we'll navigate down to the Attributes menu. And it's at this point we need to talk through a handful of various different attributes that all do that each do different things that all relate to hiding the page from one feature or another. So if I look for the keyword of exclude, you can see we have quite a few different options here. The ones that you'll likely have on your site that match up with this one are the following. The first one is exclude from sitemap.xml. What this does is tells your website to tell search engines like Google and Bing and so on to stop indexing this page going forward. Now it's worth noting that when you do this, it might not be hidden from those search engines right away. It will take time for search engines like Google to notice this note you've attached to the page and know to remove it from their records. So just be wary of that if you're deciding to hide a page that's been around for a while from search engines like Google, that doing this will take some time to take effect. So we'll click the attribute in question, and then in the right hand side we'll find and use it, like so. The next attribute that can hide is the exclude from nav field. So that will hide your page from the main menu that you see at the top of all your pages, which we tend to call the nav in the CMS. So we'll choose that option and enable that as well. Exclude from page list. This will be telling the page to be hidden from page lists, similar to this grid of boxes we just saw on the about page on my site. If you have similar page lists on your site and you want to hide a page from them, this is the attribute you use to do so. So again, we'll choose that and enable that option. And then the last one of note here is exclude from search index, which will tell the page to be hidden from your own site's search tool, your own site-wide search. So given that it's your own search tool you're telling the page to be hidden from, this, unlike hiding it from Google and so on, will take immediate effect. So again, we'll have that clicked and then use it in the right hand side. And with those four options, we have from top to bottom, telling external search engines like Google and Bing to stop listing the page when they next look at the site and index it. Then we have the page being hidden from our own site's main navigation menu. We're telling the page to be hidden from any lists it may be appearing on the site. And then also telling the site's own search tool to stop showing this page in its results. So with those four attributes all applied in bulk, we'll press save. And it's worth noting that you can of course use any combination of these. You don't have to use all four. You can use whatever ones apply to your requirements. So we'll see the page itself still exists at the address, and we'll just approve this change. And we can now see, for example, that the page has disappeared from the main navigation menu as per the exclude from nav attribute. If we go back to the About Us page, which had a page list on it, we can see that our trust page has now been hidden from the page list. And likewise, if I were to try searching, or after some time has passed, tried searching on Google and so on, the page would stop appearing in those places as well. So then as for finding the page and accessing it, of course, one way to do it is just know the address and type it into your URL bar. but you can likewise go to Dashboard and Sitemap to see that the page is in fact still there. So we can see under Dashboard and Sitemap, we have About Us and then Trust Overview. And we can see the page is still there. We can visit that if we want to and still share the link out to anyone who wants to see it. But we can also from here left click and go to Attributes. And just like when you're editing on the front end, you can pick and choose your attributes and apply them as necessary. And likewise, when it comes to unhiding a page, it's probably sensible to go to the sitemap to find the page in the first place and then remove any of the relevant attributes you want to take off from here to reveal the page again to the front end. As for the other kind of interpretation of hiding, where we want to actually limit access to a page to require you to log into user accounts, this is going to be only relevant if you've got user accounts as a function of your site, as in not admins, but pages for like extranet users and that sort of stuff. Or further to that, if you've got like pages you want to restrict to just your admin team for a while before you then release it later, you can take the approach of applying permissions to the page. So for example, if I take my Trust Overview page and let's keep the fact that we've hidden it from menus in play, because that might still be useful in this scenario. But we just want to go a step further and go to the permissions setting. And from here we can see all sorts of permissions that pertain to like admin things, like being able to edit the settings of a page and edit content and so on. In this context, we're just concerned about who can view the page, which is just this first task or first permission in this long list. So the first thing in the case of this page I have is I need to tell the permissions to not just inherit their settings from all the pages above it, in this case the home page. So I want to say, rather than assign permissions by inheriting from higher pages, I want to manually assign my permissions here. And then from here, I want to edit the view permission, the ability to view the page at all, which right now is set to guest, which in other words means regular logged out public users can visit this page if they have the address. So we'll click on view and we will remove the guest group from that permission. And then we'll add one or more users from our platform or any user groups we have and assign them the ability to view the page instead. So in this case, I've clicked add on the included permission. And then from here, I can select either an individual user or some other kind of set or group. In my case, I'll just pick the group. And then from here, I'll see all the different groups on my website or user groups on my website. And you'll see we have guest and registered users as sort of pseudo groups. Guest, again, meaning logged out users. Registered users, meaning the opposite, anyone logged into any kind of account, be that admin or otherwise. But then we can be more strict. Maybe this is a scenario where you want to restrict a page just for the admin team for a while until you then release it back out to the public later. You could pick that group as well. In my case, I'll settle for having the page be only visible and accessible to users who are logged into any sort of account. So we'll press save to have that group assigned, save again to put that rule in place, and we'll see view registered users is attached to this page. And it's worth noting that when you're doing this with permissions, like we saw a moment ago, permission rules inherit down to all subpages based on the settings you placed here. So in my case, Trust Overview is a standalone page, so that's fine. But if Trust Overview had any subpages, we're working on the assumption here that if you're going to put permissions to access Trust Overview, all the permissions you're doing here, such as you must be logged into view, will inherit to any subpages Trust Overview may have in this scenario. So just keep that in mind, not just in the context of hiding pages, but whenever you're doing permissions in general. Note that permissions do inherit down to subpages from the page you first put them in. So we'll save our changes. And we'll see that rule is now in place. Since I'm already logged in, I can visit the page at its address. But if I take this address and then log out of my account, if I then try to access that URL, we'll see that it requires a login to any sort of account to view that page now.